Hi, a couple weeks ago I published a video that was entitled NuTone has discontinued replacement entry door speaker cones, because they have. And in that video I talked about how we were working with a speaker cone manufacturer to have replacement speaker cones manufactured for all you folks that need them out there, because it is a high demand item and somebody's got to step up and do it, and apparently that's going to be us. So yesterday, we got a package in. It's from FedEx Express International. And in here are our 2 sample speaker cones that the manufacturer has sent to us so we can check them out and approve them before we step up and make the big giant order for all the speaker cones we're going to buy. If we look at the package, it's one of those really cool Tyvek ones. And here we have this all-important green label, examined by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Department of Homeland Security. So I guess we passed. We made it in. We've got some documentation here from the vendor. It's all the import information and all this other kind of stuff, which is boring and you don't care about. So let's get to the heart of the matter and take a look at what we got here. We'll put that aside, and we've got some bubble wrap here. So we'll open this up. And we'll get rid of the bubble wrap. And we have 2 speaker cones. Let's go ahead and open these up. Here we are. Uh-oh, this one's bent. It's defective. What are we going to do? Doesn't really make any difference. You can bend back the flange and it's as good as new. So we have our 2 pre-production sample 3.5 inch 16 ohm NuTone entry door speaker cones. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at these and compare them to what an original one, I guess, is. In the first video I had this like pyramid of speaker cones, and this is one of the speaker cones out of the pyramid. This is a genuine from NuTone in Cincinnati, Ohio replacement speaker cone. Oh, it's got to be better. Look, it comes in a plastic bag. What do you know? So if we put the one that came from NuTone next to these 2, they look the same. Hard to tell. In fact, if you close your eyes and you do this, I bet you can't pick out which is the original one and which are the 2 samples. I can tell because there's a few subtle differences I see right off the bat. So let's put that one aside. This is the original one, and this is the sample one. First and most important thing, is it the same size? And yes, it is. We were very specific in the drawings about the size of the speaker cones, and they are identical in size. We were also very specific about the size and distance of the mounting holes in the frame, because it has to fit onto the back of a NuTone entry door speaker grill, and if the holes don't line up, that's going to be a problem. The other thing that we specified is the speaker cone. This part here, this is the original one. This is a mylar or plastic cone, and the replacement one, also a mylar or plastic cone. One of the differences is the original NuTone one, the dust cap here in the center is some type of paper material, and on these, the dust cap here is the same material as the speaker cone, and we felt that this was a better choice because these are exposed through the slots in the grills, or the perforations in the grills. These are exposed to the weather to some degree, and the sun and the wind and the rain and all of that, and it didn't seem that it made any sense to have something that was made out of paper, since we all know what happens to paper speaker cones when they're outside. That's why you'll be buying one of these, because it's rotted away. So it made more sense to make the dust cap out of the same material as the speaker cone. At least I felt it was. If we flip them over, they are virtually identical. We have this terminals here, 2 terminals per side. Left side is minus, right side is plus. Same thing on this side. They're held onto the frame with a little crimp rivet. We have the ferrite magnets in the center. The height of the total speaker is the same from the base to the back of the magnet. They're identical, so they'll fit into the wall housings without a problem. The diameter of the magnets are the same. The thickness of the magnets are the same. They are virtually identical. They're as close to identical as could possibly be manufactured without getting silly about it. So far, so good. Let's take a look at our installation application. So here we have the back. This is a NuTone IS69AB. This is a very popular speaker. A lot of you folks probably have one of these. It looks just like the one on your front porch. These were very popular starting in the mid-1980s all the way through the end of like 2008, 2009. It was sort of the go-to speaker because it was nice looking and all of that. And if we take the original one here, it fits onto the back. It has these little posts. There's 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the speaker sits down over the posts, and then there's these little push-on nuts that you push down over the post to hold it on. So that fits perfectly because you would expect it to. And here's our sample speaker, and you can see that it fits down over that also. So it lines up properly, and that won't be a problem. We can also use this one as an example. This is a somewhat earlier, this is an IS67D, and this was sort of the go-to tract house speaker and popular speaker starting in the early 70s all the way through. They made them all the way through the mid-2000s, but it was more popular in those days. And this has the 4 screws. This is a plastic grill, so it's got 4 screws with mounting posts. So if we take the screws out, we know that the genuine NuTone one's going to fit because it's a genuine NuTone one, but the replacement one lines up properly. We'll put the screws back in. Tighten them down. Fits perfectly, mounts properly, no problem there at all. Just like a bought one. You would never know there was a difference. So from a physical aspect, they're perfect. They're exactly what they should be. They're exactly what we specified, and they're exactly what they manufactured. So we know physically they're perfect. They're the right size. They mount onto the back of the grills properly. None of that is a problem. Now, electrically, are they what they need to be? Well, I believe they probably will be, but it will take a little bit of testing and measuring to prove that out. These original speaker cones like this, these are rated at 8 watts. And we know that because we did research on original NuTone speaker cones, and I actually found some door speaker cones that I had. They were used ones. They were from the mid to late 70s or early 80s, and along with the other information stamped on the back of the magnet that was put on by the manufacturer for NuTone, some of them said 8 watts maximum. And that was also confirmed out by the speaker cone manufacturer, because for this size of magnet that's on this frame, this speaker would be rated typically at a maximum of 8 watts. And that's plenty for the application for almost all NuTone intercom systems. It should never be a problem. If they needed to be rated for more than that, then the speaker cone has to become larger. And the next size up of a standard magnet would be a speaker cone. It would be about twice as large as this. It would be nearly the diameter of the round part of the frame itself, and that speaker would have been rated for 15 watts. There's no reason to go with the larger magnet. It's extra expense, and it's never going to be used, and in some ways it can affect the fidelity of the speaker because there's not enough power to drive it properly. So we know that these are rated for 8 watts. That's what the speaker cone manufacturer indicated. All NuTone entry door speaker cones since the early 1970s, around 74 or so, they're all rated at 16 ohms. That also applies to all speaker cones in apartment house entry directories, and it's also for all apartment house intercom speaker stations. So 16 ohms is the go-to impedance. Now, impedance is a tricky thing. Impedance and resistance are not exactly the same thing, but it's important that it be relatively close. So for common use speakers like this, the 16 ohms is what's referred to as the nominal impedance. The nominal impedance is the estimated minimum impedance when the speaker is in use between approximately 250 and 400 hertz, which is a frequency range. The impedance will rise as the frequency increases. What you measure with the meter here when it's not in use is only sort of an estimated impedance based on the resistance that you're measuring across the terminals when it's not actually being in use. It's also commonly understood that the impedance of a speaker cone will rise slowly as the frequency that the speaker cone is producing increases. So for a voice application, the frequency range is typically considered to be somewhere between 250 and 2000 hertz. At those frequency ranges for the human voice, the impedance should be correct. So what we're going to measure now is the static resistance of the coil, and it should be close to what the impedance of the speaker cone will be while it's in operation. So I've got my little portable X-Tech meter here. This is not the one I use on the bench most of the time, but it's the one I like to use in the videos because it has this really good screen and it's easy for you to see. So if we put this here, let's see if we can do it so you can see it. Alright, so we're on ohms because we're measuring resistance. And if we put it on this terminal and we watch what it says, it's not the fastest meter in the world, but it'll get there. We're reading 14.67 ohms. These speaker cones, the manufacturer specified them at 16 ohms plus or minus 10%, which is a pretty common tolerance for most common electronics in the world. If you figure that that resistance will rise slowly and the impedance, you'll reach that impedance of around 16 ohms as the speaker cone operates. So it seems as if it's where it should be. And also, as a comparison, if we go to the genuine NuTone speaker cone and we measure that, we'll find that this one measures out at 14.76. It's identical. So they're both within that same ballpark that they should be for what they're going to be used for. So that's good also. So the last test we're going to do here on the bench is we're going to this is a very gross test. It doesn't really prove out a whole lot, but I thought it would be kind of interesting to do. So here we have the genuine NuTone one. Here we have our sample replacement. And what I'm going to do is, and this won't be really that informative for you, it will be more for me, and I thought it would be kind of interesting. I have my frequency generator set up here, and we're going to hook up to each speaker cone, and we're going to feed a signal into it and get some idea. Because we haven't actually tried any of the samples yet. I assume they work because they're brand new, but we haven't actually tried it. So we're going to go ahead and feed in a frequency of 1000 hertz at about 3 volt RMS and see what it sounds like. See if they sound similar. And maybe we'll go up to 4 volts. That's a little better. So there's 1000 hertz. It's sort of midpoint of our mid-range for human voice. I don't have a sound meter. I wish I did, but I don't. So let's go ahead and switch it over to the sample one. Sounds the same to me. Could possibly be maybe just a little bit louder. I know how we can do this. I'll be right back. I forgot. My frequency generator has 2 outputs. So now I have the original NuTone speaker cone connected to output number 2, and I have the new replacement sample speaker cone hooked up to output number 1. They're both set up for 1000 hertz, and they're both set at 4 volts RMS for output, and I can switch back and forth one to the other, and let's see how they sound. Here's the genuine NuTone one. And the replacement. Original. And replacement. So to me, standing here, I don't know if you can hear it, I'll have to see what it sounds like when I edit the video. To me it sounds like the replacement sample is moderately louder than the original one. So maybe I'll have to call around and see if I know somebody who has a sound meter that I can borrow for an afternoon, and maybe we'll measure it. The next test will be, we're going to do practical tests with these. As this week goes on and I repair customers' intercom systems, I'm going to set up the samples in grills on long wires here at the shop so we can take them outside, and we'll actually, 2 people will be talking back and forth on them and see how that all goes. So far it looks very promising, and I think that this will work out really well. I anticipate that if the testing goes well this week, we'll be ordering a supply of these sometime next week. I just wanted to give you an update. We have our newly made identical replacement NuTone 3.5 inch 16 ohm entry door speaker cone samples here. I hope you found this interesting and helpful. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up on YouTube. I will publish all of the speaker specifications down in the video description so you can see what those are. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the bell or on the wheel, put in your email address, and every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it. That's all for today. See you on the next video.